So who are the children that are impacted by the Trump administration's decision to end legal services for kids in immigration detention? This decision affects unaccompanied children. So these are children who have arrived in the U.S. without a parent or legal guardian, they're under 18, and they don't have any lawful immigration status. So these kids, generally what happens is they're apprehended by immigration agents at the border. In many cases, my clients are turning themselves into these agents. It's not like they're being secretive, right? And then within 72 hours, they're supposed to be transferred to a network of youth shelters. And this can range from like a group home setting to a foster care type setting, depending on the child's age and where there's bed space and other factors. They're supposed to be sent to a youth shelter setting through the Office of Refugee Resettlement, or ORR, within 72 hours. Unfortunately, we hear many stories of kids being in like an adult detention setting at the border for much longer than that, but by law, 72 hours is the rule. And when we're talking about the border detention setting, we're looking at like the chain link fences, aluminum blankets, very much like a prison-like setting. So what happens once they are ideally transferred to this youth shelter within 72 hours, there is a caseworker whose job it is to identify relatives, family, friends that they might already have in the U.S. Who can be their sponsor while they're going through their immigration process. So maybe they have like an aunt or an uncle who's already here, and that person can come forward and say, I want to be a sponsor to this child. The problem now is that Trump is actually giving ICE access to the ORR database. So this would mean that a lot of sponsors are going to be afraid to come forward and claim children who are in care because they're afraid that ICE is going to use their info to come and try to deport them. And that did happen under the last Trump administration. So that's a totally valid fear. And last time we saw kids just staying indefinitely in ICE detention for much longer, in ORR detention for much longer than normal because ICE had access to this info and sponsors were scared. So back on track. Ideally, these kids are going to be released to a sponsor out in the community somewhere, and that's how they would end up like with us working with them here in Pennsylvania. That doesn't mean they get to stay. It just means while their deportation process is going through court, which can take many years, they're going to stay with this person while that's going on. It's not like a free hall pass, right? It's just a temporary thing while their case is going on. The problem can happen when we have kids who don't have a sponsor, right? So there are some federal foster care programs that are long-term for kids who are under 17 and a half and are in ORR custody. However, for older kids who are aging out and they don't have a sponsor, it's really, really problematic because in many parts of the country, they're just sent to ICE detention as soon as they turn 18. They come, they get handcuffed, they get taken to ICE detention the moment they turn 18. And I was